of organizations to actually have these
Hmm.
exhibitions, and it's important. All right, I am expecting more people, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. We do have a big slideshow, as we usually do, and I have some announcements that I'd like to share also, and I have some photos that accompany those. I just started the live streams, and if you don't have the links to those, I've just put them in the chat. And let me just set this up on my end so I can see things in 3D also. There we go. And let me share my screen here. Okay, here we go. I think you're all familiar with this title slide. And if I just pull up my notes here, I'd like to start the meeting by giving an update about our involvement with the Internet Archive. Some of you may recognize this guy. He is Evan Surchuk. He has attended a couple of our meetings. He works at the Internet Archive, and I've been collaborating with him for a couple months now to set up 3D projection at their headquarters, their facility in the Inner Richmond in San Francisco at the old Church of Scientology building. They host regular screenings and lectures and events there. In fact, let me put their calendar of events in the chat for anyone who's interested in what they're up to. But they're very interested in 3D projection. And yesterday, I had the day off. So I spent the day at the Internet Archive, and we successfully set up two of their projectors for 3D projection. And when we showed this to the stakeholders there, including the founders, they were absolutely blown away. And they're ready to make this a permanent installation. They even invited us to hold our meetings on site at their location, which is something that I'm looking into. That's a little bit farther down the road. However, I'm hoping to make this a 3D space for stereo photographers. They're very interested in us coming down there and showing our stereo photography. And if you have any ideas for a show that we can do, let me know. They're definitely on board. In fact, I can announce that the first slideshow that we're going to do, this is not a 3D slide, I recognize, but that's not the point I want to make. We are going to give our Andrew J. Russell and the Westward Expansion in 3D slideshow, believe it or not, this month. The tentative date is Wednesday, April 23rd. The Internet Archive is going to promote this. They're expecting about 70 people or so. And, this is a slideshow for those who don't know that the Golden Gate Stereoscopic Society essentially restored from original glass plate negative scans and sort of introduced to the world in stereo as they were meant to be shown for the first time in many, many years. And I know some of us here worked very hard on this. So please drop by if you can. People would love to hear from you, and you might like seeing these again on the big screen, either on our 3D TV or projected. I'll follow up with an email once I confirm that date, but this is definitely going to happen, and the Internet Archive is very excited about it. The last update that I'm going to make is another live event. I've been talking about the pop-up 3D theater for street fairs and art festivals. And I've done some research and identified these three, which you see on your screen, as the best fit for our photography. I doubt we're going to do all three. That's actually quite a lot of work. The one that I'm really aiming for is the Solano Stroll on September 14th. And that's in Berkeley on Solano Avenue. I've already reached out to them, and they're very interested in our booth. The application date is still a week or two away, so I haven't applied yet. But that's the one that I think is the best fit for us. For this event, I will need a volunteer or two to assist. Steve, you were at the Maker Faire, and you know that was a lot of work. So I will be reaching out to the group a little later, asking for volunteers. So if you have availability on that date, either September 14th or perhaps some of the other dates on the screen, please let me know. And if you're not interested in volunteering, I still encourage you to come to these festivals and drop by. We'd love to see you. Our photography will be on our beautiful 3D TV, and these are likely to be nice photo opportunities also. Those are my big announcements. Yeah.
Yeah, you said it was a lot of work. Yeah, it's a commitment of time and some work, but it's also really a lot of fun and a chance to talk about your passion. And people seemed really receptive to learning about it. I mean, the Maker Faire is kind of a special clientele, but Solano Stroll, I've gone many, many times, and it's a great event. It gets thousands of people. I mean, it's really hugely popular. So yeah, I wouldn't, be scared away because it's work, because it's really fun. Of course, the more people that volunteer, the easier it is.
Yeah. Now it is a small pop-up canopy that we have, so we don't want to cram too many people in there. But one or two people would be great. And I know, in fact, that the Berkeley Camera Club has in the past set up a booth there. So we would be in good company. We'd certainly be the only 3D photographers at the event.
You can also walk around the stroll and just be available if somebody needs a break.
Absolutely. Yeah. So please do drop by. All right. So those are my big announcements. I'll be following up with emails about those as these dates are confirmed and as these dates get closer. Does anyone have any opinions or thoughts or questions about these?
Hello,
Hey,
Matt
Peter.
and everyone. I arrived a little late and I saw you with some fancy projector or something.
Yes.
Is that a glasses-free operation is?
No, that
Or
is.
passive?
I'll go ahead and share that again. It is a passive system.
Uh-huh.
Pulling up the photo there. The two projectors are regular digital projectors. They're owned by the Internet Archive. That's their major contribution. And I don't have a good front view, but if you were to look at the front of these projectors, you would see there are polarizing filters mounted in front of the lenses of both of these projectors.
Can
And they're,
sort of see the reflection of them if you look to see. You see that those squares in front of the projector. That's
yeah,
the
if you
light.
can, let me see if I can zoom in.
Do they need a silver screen or something?
They do need a silver screen. And funny you should mention that. The silver screen that we used for this test is actually the Oakland Camera Club's old silver screen. And I don't know how old this screen is. I'm guessing it was acquired maybe in the 70s or the 80s. Oleg, I don't know if you know about that. But it worked fine as a temporary screen. The Internet Archive is actually going to purchase their own. This one is really just for a test. We'll be projecting a larger image for the main event.
And it takes circular polarized glasses, passive
That's right.
glasses?
Yeah. I acquired.
Sounds like a good system.
It's a pretty good system. It's similar to a system that we used to use when we met in person before we invested in our 3D TV. The disadvantage of it is that it takes time to align the projectors. And what we're looking at on the screen is actually an alignment slide. The reason it's so blown out is because it is a very reflective screen. And, that can take 30, 45 minutes to fine-tune everything. That's what the stand is. You can see it's got those wing nuts, and that allows the fine-tuning of the leveling and the pitch of the projector to get them to align. Not as easy as the 3D TV, but it.
Okay, I was hoping it was the holy grail for just whipping up a glasses-free system. But thank you for filling me in.
So the holy grail, Peter, is to use a DLP 3D projector with a polarizing modulator. And if you don't know about polarizing modulators, I can email you the same information I emailed to Matt.
Thank you, Herb and Matt and everybody. Because I'm still looking for that library thing. I've tried some 3D TVs, but they want to run them 24 hours a day, and I'm all worried about the things not lasting, etc.
Well, one thing about these projectors is that they run loud and hot. They've got big fans in them, and they put out a lot of heat. I mean, you could really warm yourself up just standing next to them. So,
well, in Canada, we could use that.
No, I don't know if this is way too late, but it's possible the Presidio Theater might still have their 3D screen and projector and glasses.
That's right.
That they'd be quite willing to sell for almost anything.
Well, I'll reach out to them. I still have the contact information that you shared, and you never know.
Good.
That might really help them out too. The Internet Archive doesn't have deep pockets, but they do want to do this right, and they want to make it a permanent installation. And the rig that I showed you is definitely not a permanent installation. So we'll continue working with them on that. For the Andrew J. Russell slideshow that we'll do at the end of the month, we'll probably just use this system and just hope nobody bumps into it. All right, I think that's plenty of chatter from me. What do you say we start our slideshow and enjoy some stereo photos?
So, did you want me to talk about the non-star or save that till the end?
Let's save that for the end if you don't mind.
Not a problem.
Okay. Thank you for your patience, everyone. I did want to get that out of the way. Let me share my screen again. All right, and I'm just getting through the slides that we saw. We're going to start our slideshow tonight with a photo by Oleg. The title is Geraldine at the Santa Clara Bridge.
Yeah, I like the way it's balanced. It's a fun composition to look at.
Yeah, very much. I love how the red paint just jumps out.
I love that tree on the side. It's cute. It adds to the picture to me. Foreground one there.
There's a similar tree in the middle ground that's poking in from the other side too.
I like it when there's a lot of not just 3 places that you could look at, but lots of places along the z-axis that are interesting things are captured.
That's a very nice composition. Now, what's the black stuff in the left edge of the left eye? Is that something that?
I don't know what that is.
And in the upper left also.
Right.
Looks like
something.
maybe a border.
Yeah, something you meant to mask out, but didn't finish.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. I reviewed them on my 3D laptop, but didn't catch that one.
Oh, it's on the edge, so it's hard to see.
Very nice. Thank you, Oleg. Herb, Mike is asking if you can drop the information about the polarizing modulator in the chat, if you get a chance. Bob Bloomberg, welcome. I'm going to put you on the spot right away with Oakland Mural. And, of course, for our YouTube and Twitch viewers, there is a lag of 15 or 20 seconds or so.
Did you want me to talk about it, or?
Yeah, tell us what
leave
we're
it up
looking
there.
at here.
Well, we're looking at what I saw out the car window the other night, driving in to meet friends in Alameda. This is downtown Oakland, and was passing by this building, grabbed my iPhone, rolled down the window, and took a few shots. And I was trying to decide about whether to leave the bird in or not. He was obviously with the cha-cha, not in the same place.
Looks
So
great.
I pasted him in, or her. I didn't really ask the sex.
It was in one of the images, and then you moved it. You aligned it in the other one.
Yeah. Because as I mentioned, it's a cha-cha, so the bird was not cooperating and did not hover in midair for me.
Oh, looks great.
So I have 2 versions of it. One with just a plain sky. I liked the way the lines and kind of balanced the half Jeep on the right, which I liked.
When I first saw that bird, I thought it was a kite.
Yeah. Well, I may have had my way with the sizing on it in terms of where I positioned it, but it can be larger or smaller depending on the separation.
Yeah, maybe it's a baby.
Yeah. But I like the kind of the jet stream trail of that S curve on the mural that kind of followed him up into the sky.
Was that intentional?
Well, it was when I moved the bird, yeah, because the bird was not right in that spot
Yeah.
originally. So
That's good. I mean, the murals are obviously somebody else's work, but you're playing with it. You're adding to it. It's nice.
Even the little cable on the left looks cute. And
Yeah. How do you know I didn't do that mural? I could have done that.
Then it would be in 3D, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that sort of is. You got another one behind it.
You know, I
Yeah.
like the layers of it. It's not, traditional
Yeah.
3D, but
Yeah, you found a lot of depth in this composition for, what is essentially a flat mural. There's
well, I like that there was a double mural. The building had graffiti in the back
right,
as
yeah.
well. I was curious to project it to see how much I could get in terms of stretching this depth out, because it is miniaturized.
Did you take
that's
this as a cha-cha? You said you were driving?
Yeah, no, I just opened the window and took, I think, three shots, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So I can adjust the depth a bit, but I wanted to have as much as I could squeeze out between the two buildings.
I think you got it just right.
Yeah, certainly comfortable for me. And great light, too. Great time of day.
Yeah, that's always a motivating factor when I see something in good light.
Yeah. Very nice. Thank you, Bob.
Sure.
Now, we have a new exhibitor tonight who is not in the Zoom meeting. This is Brian Bailey. Brian may be watching one of our live streams on YouTube or Twitch, or may be watching one of our recorded live streams after the meeting. So let's give Brian some feedback. And Brian, if you... Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I got ahead of myself. I'm actually next. Let me get this one out of the way here. This is... There we go. That works. The title of this is Concrete Forms in Bay, which is exactly what it is. Not a whole lot of depth in this one, but I was just drawn to the flowing water, the fast synchronization, the high shutter speed. I just really like the way flowing water looks in stereo.
I like that it's just the water. Like it would be totally different if it had a horizon. But this is just the water and the stone. It's
Yeah,
nice.
thanks. I agree. I did crop it. I composed it without the horizon, but of course, with my wide lenses, it sort of captures everything. So I did crop out the horizon and some other details.
I don't know if it's a water splash or
Yeah.
what it is, but there's a little white dot that's kind of extended away from down at the bottom in the center of both, but it's set so far away from the water, it looks like it's an artifact that's not part of the scenery.
Yeah, I
It's
see
it's
that.
just close up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just need to crop this a little bit from the bottom and just get rid of it. I think it's like a droplet or a splash or something. It's just sitting
If
there
you
right
use
on the edge.
It's so small that you could probably use a content aware brush and fill that in. Of course, the question is, would it do it both on the same eye? I've been pretty successful with something that small and I showed that last meeting, what they call the in-painting brush in Affinity.
And I think it's right at the window, so you could just cut and paste it. Also, you wouldn't have to worry about
Right.
the Z-axis there. There's also on the left, I was just noticing down in the lower left, there's a little bit of white on the right that's not on the left.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which again, I think is easy to clone
I
out.
see it. I will do that. Yes, thank you.
But nice composition. I like the arrangement of the rocks.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I got plenty wet. taking that one. Thank you for the feedback. I'll definitely remove those distracting elements, especially that one along the border. There's really no excuse for that. Now, let me show one by Brian Bailey. This is presumably taken at the National Air and Space Museum. The title is Air Space. And if you haven't been to the National Air and Space Museum, it's definitely worth a trip. You can spend several days there. This, I believe, is a mock-up of the Apollo-Soyuz mission from 1970. Oh, I don't know. I'll have to look that up.
Okay, this very minor comment. Okay, from a compositional standpoint, it might look better if the top was cropped a little bit, but also in the on the right image, on the far right, there's a little piece of silver. I'm sure it exists in reality, but because it's not in both images, it's probably better to just paint it out or crop.
I think I don't know, I would suggest cropping that whole other device, whatever that is on the right, and just focus on the main object and also adjust the window at the same time.
Yeah, that would probably be good.
Because on the left, it's just not quite aligned. It's a great subject, and I think isolating it, cropping it, pushing it through the window would just make it that much more dramatic. And I don't think you're losing that much with that other, I don't know what that aviation device is over there. And the only other note I would say would be to maybe cut and paste the crowd in the background so there's no anomalies with the people. But you might take care of that with the cropping if you decided that's the way you want it to go.
Do you know if this is a cha-cha?
I don't know how it was made. I don't know what camera was used. Looks like...
Yeah, I was noticing that the people don't quite match up.
You know, I
So,
wonder if this needs some
Bob's probably right.
alignment.
Cropping them out would probably be a smart idea.
There is a height difference at the bottom too. Whoops, we just lost it. I'm just noticing you see more of the people in the left, in the right image than you do in the left. So I think running it through Stereo Photomaker might correct some of that, but I still think it would be more powerful
it is.
cropping.
It is better now, whatever you did.
I'm running
It's
auto
probably not a
align.
cha-cha.
Yeah, I am running auto align on these, and there is a slight vertical discrepancy of about 5 pixels.
Stereo Photomaker does help.
Yeah. So it should be a little bit
It's
easier
a tough
to
subject,
view
but it's
now.
good. I mean, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough to find a good composition, but it's a good subject and good time of day. By the way, bit of trivia that might amuse people. The Apollo Soyuz was interesting because it was this international cooperation between the U.S. and the Soviets doing the first docking in space, and one of the most difficult parts of the negotiation between the two countries was to decide the design of the docking mechanism, and most particularly which spacecraft goes into the other one.
Wasn't that depicted in some movie? It seems very familiar. I think I've seen that discussion. Oh,
Might
maybe
have
the
might have been
TV series.
worded.
I think it was in the series For All Mankind.
Oh, it could be. I just started watching that though. I haven't got that far yet.
Yeah, because they do have quite a bit with the Russians in it.
And I understand that Apollo Soyuz,
We're cooperating with the Russians now,
right?
bigly.
This mission was from 1975. And I'll share some more information I have about it. So thank you, Brian. This is excellent. Oh, we've got 3 more.
So, Melinda, do you know who won that docking contest?
That's a great question. I do not know. Nor do I really care.
I might have some information about that I'll share a little later. Thank you, Brian. This is excellent. We've got some more coming up. The images are randomized tonight, so Brian, if you're watching, just sit tight. And thank you for sharing this. I'm going to move on to our next photo in tonight's slideshow. This one is by Melinda, and the title is Architectural Incongruence.
Yeah, thanks. This was kind of fun. I spotted this this entryway to these condos in Pacific Heights, and obviously they were designed by the same person at the same time. I don't know if the architect was intending to make them contrasting colors, or if that was the owner's ideas, or how that came about. But I really like how they're just about identical condos with these contrasting light dark themes, which sort of, I don't know, to my eye it makes it look like they're sort of in competition with each other. And so naturally I wanted a viewpoint that was right down the middle. And so there was a low fence that I'm sitting on here to make my cha-chas. And as I was taking the pictures, I heard somebody come up behind me and say, "What are you doing?" And I made sure to get my pictures. As I was answering him, I just said, "I'm taking pictures." And he said, "Well, this is private property." I said, "That's okay. I'll leave." And he said, "Thank you." And that was that. But I got the shots.
But you got your shots.
Always get the shot. You can always apologize later if you like. But,
Right.
Were you standing on private property as you took the picture?
I mean, it's not illegal to walk up, and knock on someone's door or something, right? Or
Exactly.
so it's. I think he didn't know what was going on, so he's assuming the worst or something. I don't know, but it could have been a nice discussion about stereo photography. That often happens.
Looking at this, I mean, maybe this is the actual picture you took? Because when I first look at it, and as I look at it, I think you've taken 2 pictures and sliced them and put them together. But this is the real thing. It looks like this.
This is the real thing. This is exactly what it looks like. I didn't change a thing, but I did. I did add a custom border. Now, one of the interesting things is how so I made the border in 2 different colors. So for the dark condo, I used a light border, and vice versa for the other. And if you notice where they meet, is at the back of the image, whereas on the sides the borders are at the in the foreground. So the question for you is, how does that work?
It works
think
so
it's-
well that I'm convinced that the sky color is different. I keep looking at it and thinking, oh yeah, of course there's a line there, but it's the same sky. But my
It's the
brain
same
is
sky.
telling me it's different.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah,
It's
that's
also deceptive because the right part of the top of the building it looks kind of a little washed out. It looks like it's at a different height when it's not. See where the joint is there?
I don't understand.
Where the two top windows are, you see the ledge just below the sky, and you've got dark on the left and light on the right. But the very top part of that right image almost blends with the sky, at least for me when I'm previewing it. So
Yeah,
it looks like Steve was saying, oh, they must have been pasted together because they're at a different height, but it's actually the same height. It's just was a little bit of a optical illusion there. I was wondering if you'd ever considered doing the border, which is intentionally skewed, right? Because it looks like it's
Well, that's the question.
angled back.
So
Yeah.
what is happening there? What do you think is happening?
Well, I see a left half of the image skewing.
So how would you skew
Backwards.
it? How would the effect be visible?
I don't see it skewed. I think
I'm
it's
seeing
I
it
think it's
skewed.
straight. I think these are rectangles.
It is straight.
I think it's skewed. I think because of where it's cut off exactly in the middle.
Yeah, no, Steve is right. It's perfectly straight. It's just another optical illusion. It's just completely
No, for me, it
unintentional.
looked like it was skewed. Did you consider doing the border colors to match the opposite buildings? So using
was-
light gray on the left and the taupe on the right.
That was sort of the idea to exchange the color scheme. But the depth thing really throws me. I mean, to my eye, it looks like the center of the border is all the way at the back.
Yeah.
But it's nothing of the kind. It's just a consequence of changing the border color. I don't know how it works. It's another optical illusion.
Have you measured? I'd be curious to measure the border on the left and the border on the right and see if they're exactly the same.
Quite sure that they
Because
are.
it looks like the right one is a little bit longer, which would adhere to my theory, which is when it was cut to match the center of your composition, it ended up inadvertently doing a skewing effect. I like the effect, by the way,
Yeah, I think they're.
whether it's intentional or an optical illusion.
Oh wait, there is a funny stereo illusion. So well, if you can zoom in and go to the very bottom center.
The bottom
It's,
center down here.
Yeah.
Let me do this on all our streams. Is that zoomed in enough for you, Melinda?
Let me take a look.
It might take a few moments to catch up.
Yeah, if you can zoom in more. I realized that probably what's happening is that it's sort of impossible to fuse the border like that. In other words, to make it look normal, it probably would have had to have made one border a little bit longer, cross over the center line.
I'm just curious if they are the same length.
It's just that I think it's pixel perfect. Just an ordinary border with two colors, but I think I think the eye gets tricked. It's it doesn't look. It's sort of impossible to fuse that part of the image in 3D because the border is at the window, and
Well,
the steps are way behind it.
I'm fusing it right now on the zoomed in version, and the railing is coming out beyond the border for me. The bottom of the railing
I'm not seeing that.
is kind of, well, it's breaking the window for me. Maybe that's the end of the railing, but
It might be breaking the border.
Yeah, it's coming out for me.
Yeah. But the frame, I mean, the way the frame changes color, it looks really wrong,
I
right?
mean, it strikes me that this is a particularly challenging subject for 3D because the more parallax you have, the harder it is to get that straight line in between. I think it's probably good that most of the break is pretty far back. Yeah, the railing is probably one of the worst. Yeah, I didn't notice it until we zoomed in. But yeah, the 3D part of it makes it a particular challenge. Good job. This is you're always pushing the envelope, man.
This was just accidental, though. It was just a border experiment.
I think the picture looks better as a conventional photograph than 3D. Look at it with one eye. It has at least as good an effect as a 3D picture.
Well, it's got a lot of nice 3D content all around it.
I like it better in 3D.
It's certainly what caught my eye. I mean, after the colors. That's very creative.
So how did you capture this? Is this with a 3D camera or a cha-cha?
I just cha-cha with my phone.
Well, it's an illusion within an illusion. You've got this great border effect that's working its own magic inside the stereo photo. Very effective.
Thanks.
And I've zoomed back out. It's interesting to see it again, zoomed out. With what we know now about the border, it can be sort of hard to perceive it the way we first perceived it when we know how it's working. A fascinating photo. Thank you, Melinda.
Thank you.
And welcome, Brian. I see you joined us. We'll be getting to a couple of your photos very soon. But next is one by Steve. And the title is Fremont Street Showgirl.
So Fremont Street, you guys probably know, is in Las Vegas, the old part of Las Vegas. And, I'm just using my trusty W3. And I just like the feathers. And it's particularly challenging because the W3 doesn't work great in low light. And so most of the pictures were not usable. But this was one that worked. And it's just cropped a little bit on the sides.
Might be a little more on the right. Chop out those guys.
Yeah, I guess I could do. I mean, obviously, I did crop some, quite a bit on the sides, but yeah, I could crop them some more.
You've got a great through the window effect happening with the feathers.
Okay.
And there's a really nice sort of retinal rivalry effect happening with her glittery top. I can see sort of a sparkle effect from the different reflections in both views.
Yes, I did notice that. Now I figured I shouldn't save it for the next retinal rivalry since that was just last month.
And that fanny pack is very fetching too.
You got to have some place to store stuff.
Standard equipment, I think, right?
Now, Fremont Street is covered now, right? It's kind of
Yes.
an
Yes.
interior
I mean,
space.
it's many years it's been covered. The Las Vegas this used to be the center of Las Vegas where it has the cowboy and the cowboy's still there. He doesn't move. The cowgirl, I didn't even see her. But that used to be the main part of Vegas, but then they built the Strip and everybody moved down there. And so they built this big canopy, which is a giant projector. It's, series of little lights like a giant TV screen that goes for several blocks. I do have a couple of pictures of that I didn't submit because it was just really hard to capture it. And it's just not, even though it's light, it's not much 3D effect. They have a bungee ride where people get on and they kind of lie down in this harness and they ride across the length of the what do they call it? The Fremont Street. I forgot what they call it, but it's a big projection overhead, and it's pretty cool for the first 2 minutes, and then after that, it's kind of okay. Seen that, but yeah, if you haven't experienced it, definitely go there. And I got a tip. We used the Deuce. Never used the Deuce before. This is a bus that goes up Las Vegas Boulevard, and I'd read people had nightmare stories, but it was very short waits, and it stops all the places we needed to go.
Good to know.
Yeah, it takes you right to Fremont Street. Took us to the Stratosphere where we saw a show at the Stratosphere Hotel. So definitely cheaper than a taxi.
Steve, did you run this through Topaz or any sort of?
I did. Yes, I did run it through
Interesting.
Topaz.
Okay. It doesn't look over sharpened or anything like that. I'd be curious to compare it to the original to see what kind of detail it brought out.
The difference is very subtle. It was most noticeable on her face, but very subtle. I mean, I flicked back and forth between the two, and I could barely notice, but it's a little bit sharper. And I think the sequins are a little bit sharper.
Well, I do see out there a lot of severe over AI sharpening of photos, films as well. And I prefer the light touch myself.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Oleg, we've got one by you coming up next. Railroad Crossing at Puerto Varas is the title.
Yeah, I like the detail on this. I pass by a lot of times. This is right where my cousin lives. But I liked in this particular case that red car was there. That's why I took the picture.
Got the red and the yellow.
Usually the lower left, the pavement begs for some kind of detail there, but this pavement is so beat up that it doesn't need it.
It's got a lot of texture. Yeah, very interesting light in this scene. It looks like the foreground elements are more in shadow, and the background elements are illuminated by the sun. Did you time it that way?
Well, this is the way it is now, is the way it looked. Uh, it was the foreground was too dark the way the camera saw it, so I made it look more natural.
I'm guessing there's a big, bank of trees above and behind us. You can see part of a tree in the upper left,
Yeah,
and that forest is pretty thick in the background. So I'm guessing it's more of the same, and this is just in full shadow.
I don't know. Anyway, I like the black tree on the top left. It's another spot on the z-axis.
Oh, very lovely. Thank you, Oleg. Tell us again where Puerto Varas is. Is this in Chile?
It's in Chile. It's in the Lake District, which is about several hundred miles south of the capital, Santiago.
And I think, oh no, not all of your photos are from this area tonight. A few are, but not all of them. As we'll see. Well, thank you, Oleg. Bob, we have one by you coming up next. I believe this is a conversion. This is a some kind of a 3D camera, a Photron 3 3D camera. Is this a real thing? Is this something that you created?
This is the new for the duplex. This is a triplex. It's a combination digital, film, and laser camera. It's made in Albania, and today only you can get it shipped without tariff.
And I think it's significant to consider the date today.
Yes.
Yes, indeed, a Photron. That's not a make that I'm familiar with.
Well said, Melinda. Very good.
Actually, I made this from a Photon 3, which is a 2D camera from the 60s.
Well, I still wouldn't mind owning something like this. I like the way it looks like it has like a stereo viewfinder.
Of course.
Or perhaps that's a rangefinder. It's got a flash that's not in the middle of the lenses, so it wouldn't cast opposing shadows.
Exactly. I got a good response. I posted this on the NSA site today, and got a couple of people fished in, but I didn't really try to push it as reality that much. But
well, it's a very nice mock-up.
Thank you.
It's definitely something I wish really existed.
And the original spelling was F-O-T-R-O-N, and this is the F-A-U-X.
Right.
T-R-O-N.
Oh.
So. Faux
camera, right.
But I do like the styling, that retro look.
Well, we can all still dream about our ideal stereo camera. Every stereo camera that I've owned is a collection of compromises, as are the paired cameras that I shoot with. I would personally say that the Fuji W3 is really the only like actual camera, not just a device, not an Android tablet with two lenses, but an actual honest to goodness camera. I think that's as close as I've ever gotten to handling an actual stereo camera. This looks like the Fuji W3's great-grandfather.
I did think it was appropriate for the state.
Yeah. Yes, happy April Fool's Day, everyone. All right, thanks, Bob.
Sure.
I'm up next. The title of this is the title of the bus stop. It's the stop for the NL, OX, and SB lines. This is at the Bay Bridge, and it's a fairly bleak bus stop. I got lucky in that a bus roared by when I took this shot. It didn't slow down or stop for me or anything. Fortunately, I wasn't waiting for the bus. But I like this composition. I like the layers to look through. There are 2 layers of glass plus the fencing and the cheery artwork. The graffiti gives us kind of something to focus on.
I think you really captured the subject well. I mean, it gives the feeling of the bleakness of the location, but you've also got nice lighting, and it's a comfortable image to look at too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I am shooting into the light. Gives the artwork on that glass a nice backlit effect. I think it's very well defined. I don't think it would have worked so well if the sun was behind me. And the sun was in my eyes the whole day. I showed a shot from this trip last month. It was a shot of the Bay Bridge, and the light is very poor. It's a nice photo, but it just lacks contrast and color, and I just couldn't get around the light. This one is more successful, I think.
Is that like a cartoon mouse on the window, or am I just imagining something?
Yeah, I think that's what you're seeing. It's some graffiti. It's like a mouse or some sort of a cartoon character.
Right.
I think it's very well drawn. There's some flow to the lines. The artist understood working with curves, at least. I don't think it was signed. I didn't get that close.
I thought it was part of an advertisement, like a little see-through billboard on there.
Maybe there was something like that there before the graffiti artist got to it. There's also a pane of glass in front of that, and it's a little harder to see. There's some graffiti on that too. And now that I think about it, maybe I should go in and brighten that up a little bit to make it a little more distinct.
I noticed that right away. I
you
think
did?
that's one of the
Okay.
interesting things.
Yeah, I
because
wouldn't brighten it.
it's clearly set way out in front of the mouse picture.
Okay, good. Well, if you see that, then you're seeing it correctly, so I'll leave it alone.
No, it's a really nice composition. I like that, because you've got a little extra fence on the left and the bus on the right, and pretty well centered, like a Wes Anderson shot.
Oh, thank you. I stressed a little bit about not including the whole bus. I actually do have enough information to show the whole thing, but was much too loose. I wanted to crop it in more tightly like this, and I sweated a little bit about cropping off part of the bust, but when I did it, I realized I thought it looked fine, so I just left it.
Good. It's a good choice.
Yeah, thank you.
It's too easy to fall into the trap of not wanting to let go of, some nice, interesting part of the image, but you had a overall goal of making a nice composition, and it worked out really well.
Well, that's something I've definitely learned from this group, because I tend to kind of crop kind of loose, and some consistent feedback that I get is that I can crop in. So maybe I'm listening.
Yeah, look at this, everyone. He chopped right through the front of the bus. It's fine.
Yeah, I almost lost sleep over that. All right, thank you all. Let's move on to one by Brian Bailey. Brian, I think you're here. If you would like to join us with your microphone and or camera, we'd love to hear what you have to say about the upcoming photo, which is titled Auto Union D-Type. And we will certainly share our feedback with you.
Okay, I just was able to unmute myself.
Brian, welcome.
Hi, I've been following your group a little bit in the past, and I'm a member of the LA 3D group, and I've shown some of my work there, but they don't really have a mechanism for feedback. They sort of score your stuff, and it doesn't really help me much. Most of these images I send are very old. The ones like this are like some from the 90s, some from the early 2000s, and most are film-based, with a dual Nikon setup, but not all, and a lot of them are motorsport or what I call machine photos. So I want to just kind of get his opinion of other people who actually have something to say about them one way or the other. So have at it, you guys.
Yeah, Brian, you've come to the right place.
I have a quick comment, if I may, not about the picture. It's a really cool wide angle lens. Matt, do you think you could move the cursor? It's on one of the tires.
Yes, I apologize.
There
for
we
that.
go.
I hope that didn't drive you too crazy.
I was just going to suggest to Brian that he remove it. Just blown it out.
No, that was me. So, Brian, was this captured with film cameras? Are these film scans that you're showing us?
Yeah, this was I started out with a TDC colorist too, but I couldn't keep it working. I had a lot of trips to the shop with sticky shutters and stuff. So I made this rig out of two Nikon N70s with they're the cheapest Nikon that had a remote port on it. So I made my own hand trigger that would fire both of them, good enough to do flash sync if you didn't raise the shutter speed above 100th. And I shot a lot of I did a lot of motorsports, and I had credentials for a lot of these races.
Oh.
So I was able to get in pretty close. And most of these that were film-based were shot with a pair of 28 millimeter lenses.
28 millimeter lenses on 35 millimeter film?
That's correct.
Okay.
And there were, most of them were Etricom, and I scanned them all myself using, well, I kind of wore out about 4 or 5 different kinds of scanners. And I'm now doing it using a mirrorless 48 megapixel Panasonic camera.
The scan is flawless.
Brian, I don't know what the dress code was at this place, but it really is working in your favor because everybody's wearing this sort of monochrome outfit, which just totally makes the number 14 stand out in a really exceptional way. I mean, it's just such a nice feature, being that it's like just about the closest thing to the viewer. I guess the tire is closer, but still, it's really a nice color element to, and the depth is amazing because, like I mentioned, I mean, you can see some curvature in the car because of your wide angle lens. So yeah, I think this is a really compelling photo.
Well, the Auto Union guys, which is Audi, this is one of their rarest race cars from pre-World War II. It was actually hidden from the Russians at the end of the war, so they wouldn't confiscate it. There's only 2 left in the whole world like this, and they dressed up their drivers in period costumes for the full effect.
I remember early days of collecting 8mm movies, I had an Abbott and Costello film where they race a car like this.
Well, yeah, these were like, the fact that any of them survived like World War II is shocking. This car right here can go over 210 miles an hour, and that was in the 30s.
Wow.
Incredible.
A lot of airplanes couldn't go that fast in those days.
I just can't get over that. It's a digital scan. It looks native.
Yeah, this one, it was probably scanned on for a while. I had a Minolta, I think it was a Elite 5400 scanner, and I scanned a lot of my transparencies on that before it gave it up. I probably put like 2,000 or 3,000 slides through it before it died.
Wow.
And I tried to replace it, but by the time it gave it up, it was too far down the road for any replacements. All the slide scanners from the era are basically, a new one is like 14, 15 years old. So that's why I switched over to doing mirrorless camera stuff. And I've had pretty good results.
So you're taking photos of your prints or what?
No, these are all shot from the slides. So basically, it's
What was
like
that
a
about the
35
mirrorless?
millimeter slide copier system.
Yeah, you said you switched over to using a mirrorless camera.
Yeah, I basically have a mirrorless camera on a homemade stand pointed at a color corrected light box. So I shoot them with a 100 millimeter macro lens. And that gives you about a 72 to 75 megabyte file off of 35 millimeter. And I found that to be sufficient. It resolves down to the grain. So it's good enough.
I have a similar setup at home with the Bessler dual mode slide copier and a mirrorless camera. My Sony's set on that with an adapter, and it works very well.
Oh yeah, it's my only way of scanning. I have thousands of 6x7 transparencies also that I shot that I use pretty much the same system.
Oh, this looks like it was.
Would one of you be interested in scanning some of my father's old negatives? I've got like a 1,000 or something like that. I would love to pay somebody to scan them. I have no capacity to do that.
If I didn't have like tens of thousands of my own, I would be willing to help you. Plus, I'm in LA, but I know there's people up there who can do that. It's getting it set up is not that difficult these days, and depending on the format, it determines how easy or hard it is. Nikon sold a little slide copier adapter for $150, and you just stick it on the end of a Nikon macro lens, and you can shoot 35 millimeter all day with it easily.
Yeah, these are all in chunks of 35 millimeter film, like 5 per sleeve.
You might want to look into that Nikon adapter. It's I think they just call it a slide copier, and it's just a little piece that screws on the end of a macro. And if you point it at a color corrected light box, you could cycle through like, each one taking like maybe a 25th or a 30th of a second to shoot. And the negative carrier that they have has 4 or 5 cutouts for it, so you can go through strips really fast, because I used that for a while till I got a new camera.
Yeah, if anybody would like to recommend the equipment, or more ideally somebody that that can do it, that would be great. In the meantime, anyway, I didn't want to derail the discussion. The image is fantastic. I love this. I love the composition. The car is well through the image. I would probably move it back a little bit, but otherwise, I don't really have any criticism.
Didn't Auto Union make a car where the driver sat right at the very front of the car? I somehow remember.
Yeah, this is the car.
Oh, I thought he was like way ahead of the, where the
No,
motor is.
it's distorted, but behind him is a V16 engine.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
I have a shot of the back of the car looking forward with the same wide angle, and you can get an idea of how long the thing really is. Yeah, it looks normal here, but in reality, yeah, he's only like maybe 5 feet back from the nose. In fact, his feet are probably only like a foot or so behind the front wheels.
I'm only 5 feet back from my own nose.
You got, Brian, great synchronization too when you took this. I'm looking at the people admiring these vehicles, and they're in motion, they're talking, they're not performing any actions or anything, but I don't see any rivalry. I don't see any airs. Whatever your shutter speed was,
most of these are taken at like 125, 100th to 125th. But I do have some on-track photos of the cars actually on the racetrack. And maybe 80% of those have good enough synchronization that you can read the lettering on the tires.
Wow.
But as the cars get faster, it becomes progressively more difficult. Indy cars, I had a really rough time synchronizing a stereo pair of Indy cars on a course.
Brian, are you still shooting stereo today? And if so, what kind of cameras are you using?
Yeah, I still am. I haven't done as many races as I was like. I was mostly doing car shows and stuff, and I'm using a pair of Samsung NX1000s.
Okay.
And I have basically have adapters. I can use Nikon lenses on that, but primarily I use a 20mm 2.8 to that's sort of my standard lens. And I have the 20 to 50 zoom, but the zoom lenses get you in trouble in a hurry if you're not careful. You have a focal length offset, and at a certain point it can't be corrected in Stereo Photo Maker.
Sure.
So I've kind of moved away from using zooms whenever possible. And if I do, I put them either at 20 or 50 and leave them mostly taped down.
Yeah, that's just one more variable to forget about in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, for my Nikon system, I actually bought had 3 lens pairs. I had a 28, 50, and 85 that I use, so I would be able to keep the focal lengths match more or less when I change them. So I would shoot with the 85s on track and the 28s in the pits. I hardly ever use the 50s, but later on I tried using DX format Nikon, and that was not usable because of the interocular was just way too wide.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave up on that, and I mostly stuck to 28 millimeters for almost everything.
those Samsungs you shoot with, you can get those lenses very close, right? Because of the design of the camera, the lenses I think are sort of on the edge.
Yeah, the interocular, according to Dr. T, if you cut the neck strap ring off of one of them, because one is inverted, so you can actually get the 65 millimeter interocular. I bought mine with the 70 millimeter interocular because I didn't want to cut the neck strap ring off, but I ended up doing that anyway. So yeah, they have a 70 millimeter offset, and that's worked fine. I was able to use a variety of lenses to make that work correctly.
Well, I hope you show us more. Of course, we have 2 more of yours coming up tonight. And Brian, we did already view your airspace from the of the Apollo Soyuz exhibit.
Right.
I don't know if you were able to catch that, but it will be recorded on our one of our YouTube live streams. You can get those comments after the fact, and of course, we'll discuss your upcoming photos as well. And if you need links to those streams, to those videos, Brian, let me know, and I'll put them in the chat, or I'll send them to you.
Yeah, if you can send them to me. Yeah, I was at the store. I couldn't get back in time to get you guys fired up.
In fact, let me just do that real quick before we move on. We have a couple ways to view this slideshow. And all right, if you check your Zoom chat,
okay, I see
you'll
it.
see some links there to play around with. Well, thank you, Brian.
All right.
This is a lovely photo. Let's move on to a stereo photo by Melinda. The title is Immersed in His Work.
Yeah, so this was in my neighborhood, walking up one of the steep hills behind me, and I came across this scene where they're pouring fresh cement, and this one guy was using all his skill and artistic talents to get this cement to stay on the slope. It's difficult to tell here, but it's really quite steep. But he was doing a very good job, and he was happy enough to let me take a bunch of shots of him, and yeah, got in super close with the my hydrogen one. It's pretty much full frame. I don't know if I cropped anything at all. And not much more to say about the making of it. I just really like his feet totally sunk into the cement, and
well, and the expression on his face, that concentration, the skill he's putting into the work.
Oh yeah, he's fully focused. It's clearly an artist, and he's also a work of art too. It's got,
he is, yeah.
I'm guessing probably full body tattoos.
That body art. It's interesting. You can see there's someone standing behind him, just barely. His legs
I missed that.
and arms are blocking the legs of the individual. Seems to be watching him or something.
Yeah, there were several people here. There's a whole cement truck just on the left, and so yeah, I guess I arrived at just the right time.
kind of nice. We can look sort of through him also. Kind of, he sort of forms an archway.
What kind of lens focal length equivalent is that hydrogen camera? It's like a camera phone, right?
Yes. I don't know. It's not particularly wide or narrow.
It's sort of like a, would you say in full frame 35 mode, like a 35?
I don't know.
Yeah, they're not very wide lenses. I've got mine right now. I'm looking to see if there's any indication.
Probably not.
Yes, there is not. I mean, they're definitely not. I mean, they are a wider lens, but yeah, that's a good question. It'd be worth knowing. Of course, the interocular distance is very tight on this phone. It's maybe, well, I could measure it actually.
It's less than a centimeter.
Let's see. Yeah, it is.
Say it's approximately 26 millimeters.
26. Yeah, that's what my ruler says too.
26? Oh, okay. I was way
Yeah.
That's still wider than my iPhone stereo lenses.
Well, there's plenty of depth if you just get up close and personal with your subject, as Melinda has done here.
I mean, it still could use a little more depth, but it's, yeah, I'm definitely getting the most out of it that I can. I just noticed too that, yeah, the houses in the back are not vertical. I need to rotate the image quite a bit to make it realistic, and then you would really see what the challenge is here for this pour.
Yeah, but you would have to seriously crop it to rotate it and still have it.
Yeah, I would lose a great deal of the image. What can I do? Yeah, I don't think I could even keep his face in it. No, that's just photographer's error.
It doesn't detract from the image. It might have added a sense of like gravity or something, but
Yeah, I mean that's the challenge, and I don't even know how they do that. Maybe they just work slowly or something, or work in layers. I really don't know.
Yeah, it's a skill. It's a skill. Very nice. Thank you, Melinda.
Thank you.
So it's 8:30. We'll go a little late tonight, as we usually do. But I do want to take a brief intermission. Herb, if you're with us,
Matt,
yes,
I'm
Steve.
not going to be able to go much past 9. It's going to be really difficult for me to go past 9.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, okay. Well, in that
Yeah,
case, we will skip the intermission. Herb, I was going to have you make the announcement about the...
I can do it later.
We'll do it later. And that said, let's take a look at a photo by Steve.
Okay, and I'll make it quick. This is
I
Los
think-
Angeles.
Yes, I
park
think
in
it's
Los
L.A.
Angeles.
birds, either that or La birds. But,
LA, yeah, LA short for Los Angeles.
L.A. birds, okay.
And just with my family visiting a park in LA. There's a lake in the background, and I caught these birds. Although I was doing it so fast, it's again with the W3, that I was at a pretty extreme angle. So actually, I probably shouldn't admit this, but I only got half of the bird in the middle. So it's part of his body, and his wing is fake. But there it is.
So did you paint in the wing? Is that what I'm seeing?
Painted, yeah, I considered painting them out completely, but I thought, no, it looks better if there's a third bird. And there really was the third bird right there. I just, was the top of the frame was at a pretty extreme angle. And I straightened it and lost about 80% of the wing.
Uh-huh.
So I just faked it.
Now, it's interesting that we can clearly see the face of one of these pigeons. I guess it must not have been moving as fast or something.
Yeah, I think it was a bright enough day. That I was able. I've never been very successful at manually adjusting, the W3.
They're not very precise when you try to manually adjust them.
Yeah, I almost never get a good. So the exposure's wrong or something's wrong about it. So I just do it all with the auto and then correct it in the paint program.
Yeah,
a couple of times I tried to use it with a light meter. They just came out like unusable.
It
has its own rationale.
Yeah.
Yeah, skip the Fuji W3's manual mode. Just stick with program auto or whatever it is.
Yeah, that usually works pretty well.
Yeah. Steve, I do see in the left eye, it looks like there's some discoloration in the sky. I see sort of a band in the left eye in the sky that I don't see in the right. That might be an artifact of
yeah, I think you're right about that.
copying a bird.
Because, like I said, this was at an angle, so a portion of the sky was faked, and I tried to blend it, but it's I probably should have just copied it, but I think I just thought I was close enough, and maybe I wasn't close enough.
Close enough is just fine. All right, thank you, Steve.
Okay, good. Let's hope that we will move on.
Next up is one by Oleg, and the title is Santa's House at Puerto Varas.
Yeah, this was Christmas time, which is summer in the southern hemisphere. But they still have Santa Claus.
And reindeers.
Yes. I like the balance of the picture.
In Jamaica once I saw Santa arriving on a jet ski at for Christmas. Also seemed a little incongruous.
It's a green Christmas. Yeah, it's nice how the angle of the roof of the house with the Santas sort of matches the angle of the roof on that tower behind it.
Yeah, I did that. To me, that's the main part of the picture.
Yeah.
One of the things of that shape is that the point of it is very easy to see exactly where it is in the z-axis. It's a very handy tool. So I'm looking for that kind of a roof all the time.
The point you're saying is
The point.
easy to
It
read
is-
in the z-axis.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, to me, the most interesting part is the contrast of those two structures, and there's some nice depth in there too. Very nice. Thank you, Oleg.
Thank you.
Bob, you're up next, and you're going to have to explain this one. This is a conversion. Ventriloquist Max is the title.
Well, this is friend Max Clark, who has an alter ego as a musician called Max Clacton with 2 X's. And this was a birthday card I did for him. Since he has a dual identity, I thought it was appropriate.
That name is familiar. Is he also a stereo photographer or a videographer?
Yeah, he does stereo videos. You can look him up on Facebook if you're on there.
Right. Yeah, he's shown at the 3D Con 3D Theater. I know that's where
we both had films in the theater and compared notes.
Got it.
So then I found a wonderful vintage photograph of a ventriloquist and had my way with it.
So what did you use to do the conversion?
I started with Immersity, and I had to do a lot of touch up and cutting and pasting in Photoshop to get it. And then I had taken a 3D photo of Max, so I was able to use that for the head.
Yeah, it really blends nicely. The conversion and the native 3D fit together well.
Yeah, and I thought it was appropriate for his alter ego to be wishing him a happy birthday.
Great imagination, Bob.
Thanks.
Speaking of Immersity, I got an email that I think version 4 is their version 4 AI is now live. I haven't used it myself in a while, but they continue to improve it.
Yeah, they've added a neural filter, which I know that Photoshop has been using for various things. But I just did a couple of conversions today, and they seem pretty good. It's still not perfect, but I have to buy some more credits, I think.
Yeah, well,
but I can tell you one trick if you don't want to buy credits from them. The latest watermark that they do is just their Immersity logo at the bottom right corner of your image. So what I do is just add a bit of black on the bottom of my images, do the conversion, and then just crop it. So
very sneaky.
It is sneaky. I'm going to give them some. I used their app long before they started doing their credit system, so I don't mind supporting them. But I haven't tried. I don't know if anyone's done a comparison between Immersity and what is it, Owl 3D?
Used Owl 3D. It can give really good results, but again, they try to zing you as soon as you get it any kind of resolution.
Well, I found that just getting their free resolution from Immersity and then putting it through Topaz Gigapix usually does well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I'm sort of saving my Owl conversions where I could buy like a couple of months worth and then just burn everything I got.
Bob, it looks
they're doing it by that. The Owl does it by time rather than per image.
Yeah, it's a monthly or yearly license or something.
Oh, interesting.
Like that, based on the different tiers of output resolution.
Got it. No, the Immersity is just per image. So
Yes, it wouldn't work for me.
Bob, are you using a creative frame on this? I see sort of like a beveled appearance to the.
yeah, no, it was just a straight frame. I might have to have Melinda give me a little framing tutorial.
Looks good to me.
Yeah, basically, I've just been doing a frame and then leaving a double width in the middle. But often, I don't know, I pull it into a stereo photo maker and it's never quite exactly right. It'll be skewed a bit. And so I'm always looking for better ways to do it.
Do you use stereo photo makers border
No, I've never tried that.
controls? Oh, okay. I highly recommend it. Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's quite good, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah,
So you can
check it
do
out.
any width you want, any color, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you can round them. You can have multiple borders.
Yeah, well, I've done with some of my cards. I've used some of their curved stereo card templates, but
yeah,
I
you can
haven't
get,
used
you can get pretty
straight board.
fancy. Yeah, it's good. It works really well. Yeah, Alt B will bring up the border controls,
Hmm.
and then you can just use Control B to toggle it on and off.
Oh, cool. Okay, well, I will definitely give it a try.
That's how I usually add my borders.
I've discovered a really easy 2-minute way to do just about any kind of border. And I don't know if I can explain it because I don't speak very well. But what I do is you've got this side-by-side stereo pair,
Mm-hmm.
and then you enlarge it by amount of the width of the border,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't enlarge the image. You enlarge the what do they call it?
The canvas.
The canvas. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did on this one. I just meant I didn't calculate it or anything. I just made it, 5% or 3%, and then I cropped it. But yeah, just increasing the canvas size, giving it a color, and that will do it. And then I just copy and paste it and put it together and leave double the width in the middle.
Yeah. Well, again, the way I do it, you select all and of the color of the border.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens with the side by side is you lose. You have to put that in.
Oops. Sounds like somebody's stomach is growling. Okay. I'm not sure I follow what you're saying.
They're side by side, so you get the border on three sides, not where the pair meets. The two stereo pairs, and there you need to install it manually.
Yeah,
that you had at the rest of the picture.
I mean,
use a little bit of the.
I think probably we should move on rather than get into the weeds about the details of how to do it.
Yeah, we are running a little short on time tonight. So I think for the remainder of the photos, we have about 8 or 9 to go. So if we could limit the discussion to about a minute or two for each, we'll try to wrap it up at 9 o'clock. I know some of us have a hard stop there. So thank you, Bob, and thank you, Oleg.
Sure.
The next one is mine. The title is Richmond Bridge Abstraction, and as you know, I've been showing a lot of bridge photos, and this is the kind of photo that I was really after on those trips. capturing the girder work, all the steel of this bridge. It's not a graceful bridge in this case, but definitely the right one for the subject. And the one last thing I'll say about this before moving on is that I really was going for the high contrast. So in this case, I actually pulled the shadows down to make them darker, to have some really dark shadows contrasted with the bright reflections of that silver painted steel. And I will thank you, and I'll move on to the next one, which is by Brian. And the title is Ferrari Garage. And this should pop up in just 10 seconds or so.
Being a little retinal rivalry on the I don't know if it's a windshield or the closest car. There's a dark spot on the right and a light spot on the left. I'm sure it's natural. It's sort of like a reflection or something.
Where is it?
On if it's I don't know if it's a windshield, but I think if I'm reading the car correctly, it's
Oh, by the steering wheel?
yes, right.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little rivalry there.
Brian, how did you take this photo? Was this with two synchronized cameras, or is this
Yes,
cha-cha?
it's with the dual Nikon setup.
Oh yeah, I
So
can
it's,
see there's a person in the background.
Yeah, there's two Nikon N70s, so it's basically shot on Ektachrome and then scanned.
Got it.
Yeah, it's well, the other thing, to be able to shoot it, I had a really good pass that led me into the Ferrari garage in the first place.
That's incredible. Never seen so many.
Well, they were the featured car that year. That's from 2004, and they brought up like 10 old Formula One cars from their factory in Italy, and they were actually selling them. So if you had enough millions, you could buy one of these.
Incredible. Yeah, this one doesn't work so well in Anaglyph. The red is...
Yeah, I had that problem.
Diminished.
I actually made a stereo 3D book of one of the race series, and I had a huge problem with red cars because there was a lot of red cars, and I gave the files to one of the members in the club here. He actually lives in Florida, and he converted the wavelengths of some of the reds so they didn't conflict so much. And he did a really good job, but the problem is he's so busy that the last batch I sent him, I still haven't gotten them back, and that was like 8 months ago.
Yeah, printing stereo, there's always a compromise.
But when I bought a set of the Apple goggles, the Vision Pro, and in the Vision Pro they look awesome.
Oh, I can imagine. Well, thank you, Brian. Let's move on.
I'm gonna have to sign off. Thank you guys for your commentary, and
Brian, thank you
I'll come
for
back.
coming. We hope to see you at another meeting. Our next meeting is next week, and of course we meet twice a month, the first and second Tuesday of each month. And we do have one more of yours coming up, and if you'd like to hear the feedback for that one, as well as the feedback of your airspace, check out our YouTube stream. It'll be recorded after the meeting, and it'll be there waiting for you.
Okay, that'll be great.
Have a
And
great
thank you
evening.
guys for giving the feedback. It's great.
That's what we do. Thanks,
right.
Oh,
Brian.
it's tremendous work. Thank you.
Bye, doll.
And on the screen now is one by Melinda, and it's called Steep Driveways.
Yeah, hard to follow all that color. That was just yeah, some stunning exposures. Yeah, I bet Oleg knows where this is. Still with us, Oleg?
No, I don't.
This is directly above the one parking spot street. So this is sort of the end of a street here. There's a long street and it's got exactly one legal parking spot on it. It's got no parking to the left, no parking to the right, but between the two signs, there's just enough room for a car. Anyway, it's a trailhead in Sausalito, and I was just coming out of the hills here, so I'm almost back to the road, and I took this cha-cha of a guy with a weed whacker trimming the hedges of these one of these driveways here. It's a very steep hill. It's hard to make it out exactly, but you can probably guess. And a really nice vantage point from the trail overlooking these driveways. Not sure what else to say. When I got there, he was working on the right side of the road, and I was trying to take some pictures, but then he moved over more into the frame, so I got a better composition here. And then I just had to clone him from one side to the other, and not too much else.
Well, it has lots of depth. The stereo definitely enhances this shot. In 2D, you really don't get a sense of how steep this driveway is. I mean, that almost looks vertical. The sort of the base of this hill, where the tree and that utility pole are.
Yeah, he's having to watch his step too. It's pretty slippery.
Well, thank you, Melinda.
Thank you.
Steve, we have one by you coming up next. Sewer work.
This is just a couple days ago in front of our house. They were doing some sewer work, and so you can see I'm just shooting down the access hole. They dug that hole right while I was here, and the guy went down there and worked on it. I lightened up the part in the middle. I mean, where the guy said it's almost black down there, so I used Affinity for that. And I just will quickly mention Affinity also has a border feature. That's all I need to say. And before anybody comes and mentions issues, because I'm sure there are, a good part of the right side of the picture is, again, just painting. I don't know why I framed it so poorly, but I lost a lot of this ladder. I think I was just interested in the guy. Plus, I couldn't see so well because the viewfinder on the W3 is a little hard to see on a bright sunny day. So I just didn't get the ladder. So the half of that ladder is just manufactured out of paint and cloning and various things.
I think you just forgot to clone out the left image, the bottom bracket. You can see more of that bracket than you can on the right one. Looks like the right one doesn't have that down piece. You see what I'm referring to?
I did that deliberately, because I noticed that on the other ladders, like the one that's in there, that the right and left side don't quite match each other. And I thought, okay, well, I can get away with that. It's certainly less work. And I maybe was hoping people like Bob Bloomberg wouldn't notice.
Well, it's not the other side of the ladder, though. It's supposed to be you're looking at the same side of the ladder, and one of them has that extended metal piece, and the other one doesn't. So,
Yeah.
don't think you're
I
going to get away with it. And I think it's really wonderful the way it comes to the front. I'd give it a little more breathing room. You could add just a tad more space
Yeah.
on the right and clone that out. I think it's great.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, I see what you mean. You know, it probably would have been better just to take the other one out and then not have to worry about recreating it on this side.
Or just put a border and have that part of the ladder break the window.
Well, I thought about that. I almost did that, but like I said, this is just a couple days ago, so I didn't have much time. It's actually a fair amount of work to lighten the stuff down there because I had to feather it because it was only part of that hole was dark, and then as we get closer to the surface of the street, it gets, it's okay. But I was able to do it.
And the just to nitpick just a little bit more, the line of the concrete, the dividing line of the concrete, you can see it on the right. You don't see it on the left where the edge of the ladder is. The black line, that thin black line that separates the concrete slabs. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. Maybe I'll revisit this one.
Yeah, I think this one is worth refining, Steve. Why don't you, if you are motivated, we'd love to see another version of this. I love the idea of putting a false frame behind the ladder and having it really jut out through the window. I think that's a great opportunity.
I think that would look good.
Well, thank you, Steve.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks, Bob.
Sure.
Oleg, this is stereo photo number 4 from you, and this one is not from Chile. This is the view towards San Pablo Bay from the refuge number 2.
Yeah, I had a similar picture last month. It's about a 10-minute drive from my house, so each time I go there, depending on the time of the year, and the shadows are different, so it's a lot of fun. I'll have a whole book of them when I get finished.
Yeah, didn't you show a photo from the same location?
Yes.
Yeah, this sure looks familiar to me. But the shadows were different.
Yeah, they're always different. I thought I'd go back and improve on the first one I took, but like I say, depending on the time of the year, they're different.
Right. Well, thank you, Oleg. It's an excellent composition. I could go on, but I think we're going to move forward. And we'll move forward to Steve's last photo of tonight's slideshow. The title is Vegas Sphere. And
okay. Yes, I was lucky enough to be leaving Vegas on the side of the plane that showed the strip. And what I liked about this one is that you get a sense of scale with the high roller, which is their big Ferris wheel, one of the tallest in the world, hard to believe, and the sphere. And you can see that how huge the sphere is relative to, you might not know that over on the left side, there's a Ferris wheel there. It's a little hard to see. But it was a disappointment to ride it because the buildings, the hotels in Vegas are so huge that you don't get a sense of how high up you are when you're in the high roller. You know, it's like the London Eye, similar, but it's actually taller than the London Eye. So this is just with my Samsung out the window of the airplane.
Yeah, I thought this was taken from an airplane. I really get a sense of altitude with this one.
It is from an airplane.
Oh, it is from an airplane. I thought you were saying it was from a tower.
No, I mean, I guess you could shoot this. You probably could get this high in the stratosphere, which is not where we're looking. And the stratosphere would be sort of to the right of this picture. But the stratosphere is a very tall hotel.
I see.
I think it's the tallest building west of the Mississippi. But yeah, this is from an airplane. This is from as we were leaving Las Vegas, as they say.
That's tremendous. I love this. I love this image. I assumed it was from a building, but yeah, what a lucky shot from an airplane.
Yeah, not too much traffic, as I recall.
He must have been shooting fast.
Yeah, I don't think I was shooting video, but I do try to crank off about 10 pictures in a row as quick as I can. And I have done this in video. It's lower resolution though, so
Yeah, the resolution looks too high for it to have been a video. Maybe
Yeah, I'd
well,
love to see it.
we have to scale these down to no higher than 1080. So you could definitely do that with video. I mean, everything that we use in the club is not really taking advantage of the full resolution.
Well, thank you, Steve. Yeah, very
I
striking.
might be able to stay a couple more minutes. I mean, some
Sure.
issues seem to have changed here, but I can only stay a few more minutes.
We've got 3 more to get through.
Okay, I think I
Let's
can
do it. This is Brian's last photo of the evening, missiles. This is also taken at the National Air and Space Museum. If we have any comments for him, otherwise we'll move forward.
Well, it's a much better composition than the other one. With all the verticals and everything. It's very successful.
I think this one is properly aligned also. Yeah, if you've been to the National Air and Space Museum, they really cram these missiles together. They're all sort of in the same spot. Not a lot of breathing room. So he found a spot for an effective composition. Melinda, tell us about Tesla protest, March 17th, 2025.
It's a record shot. It's just part of the cultural landscape now. It's a Tesla takedown protest in the city. I guess they're happening at all the dealerships, and it was interesting. I mean, it's not a great stereo subject, so like I say, it's more of a record. I did the best I could with the try to get some shots with depth, but it's interesting. The like some of the details, the signs, of course, but also like you can see that the windows were probably broken not too long ago back there, and you can't see. There's graffiti on the windows and on one of the walls around the corner. It's Tesla is having some tough times.
It's interesting. There's, further depth in the reflection. You can see the upside down American flag, the sign of distress.
Yeah, I don't know what
Reflection.
the story was. I only noticed that flag afterwards. But usually maybe that would be counter protesters or something that fly the flag upside down, but I'm not too versed on that. Anyway, it's a sign of the times. We'll remember this.
Yeah, very much so. Well, you've got some nice, and it's a nice stereo shot too. You've got that great foreground element in that sign, and got a background element in that flag, and of course you can see down the road. Very nice, very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. And we'll wrap up with a kind of a touristy one from me. This will probably conclude my bridge photography. I've definitely burned out on the bridges. And this was really just one of those opportunity shots that I took while I was walking to photograph something else. And I thought I got pretty lucky. I like the way the people are sort of separated out. You can see the people posing. No depth in the bridge, but I don't really think that that's what this photo is about. It's really more about people reacting to it.
That's a very nice shot. It looks a lot like a screenshot from within Second Life, the virtual world. The renders all kind of look like this.
Oh, is that right? Really? Huh.
Yeah. Maybe it's the wide angle or something. I don't know. It's yeah, it looks like Second Life.
It's definitely a wide angle, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry to rush things, but I know it is getting late, and some of us have a hard stop. I think we lost Steve. Oh, no, Steve is still here. Thank you, Steve, for sticking around. Um, let's go ahead and make our 3 selections. We will take a minute or two to do that. And Herb, I want you to make selections also if you're up for participating. But we also want to hear about the the PSA 3D division non-star competition. So if you can, and if you'd like to talk about that while we're making our selections, after you've made your selections, I open up the floor to you.
Okay. Well, basically, what's happening is that this competition is being resurrected after many years of dormancy, and I'm chairing it. But it's sponsored by the PSA 3D division. They are offering a gold medal, silver medal, and bronze medal. There is no entry fee. It is open only to PSA members who have not earned a star in 3D exhibitions. So it's okay to have a star in other divisions, like if you have a star in photojournalism or something else, just no stars in 3D. And basically, uh, uh, in the past, it has been very low level of participation. We're not really sure why. Is it that basically people who have never competed or never earned a star are not interested in competition? Is it that the word has not gotten out? Clearly, it's not the entry fee that's a barrier, because there's no entry fee at all. And uh, so, I'm just interested. I don't know how many people from Golden Gate might be interested in competing. The closing date is going to be Monday, August 4th. The 3 judges are David Allen, Mark Wilkie, and Gary Weiss. And the results will be presented at the PSA Photo Festival, which is in Portland on September 24th and 27th. So I guess I'd be interested in hearing comments, questions, whether people are interested in participating. and just better understand, what I'm getting into.
Before we respond to Herb, does anyone need more time with the poll? If not, I'll go ahead and show the results. And Herb, in my case, of course, I already have PSA stars, so I wouldn't be able to participate. This is for stereophotographers who have not been awarded a PSA star, right, or any PSA
It is
recognition.
for photographers who have not earned a star, whether or not they have actually applied for one. So if you've earned a star but just never applied for one, then you're not on the record as having a star, but you're still not eligible if you have enough acceptances to have earned one.
And do you have a link? Is there a web page about this? Is there any information?
There will be, and I will post it to Photo3D at groups.io. Basically, I put out some draft information to some people who are reviewing it. I've had some people say, this is too complicated. It's going to scare off people, and I'm not sure if that's really the case or not. You know, and so I'm trying to get a better understanding of what and so basically I am going to simplify things, considerably, basically cut down, the number of things I say. So, for example, I say that, just like in regular photographic competitions, that photos have to originate from, you know, uh, light exposure, so they have to be a photograph. They can't be computer generated. They can't use AI. And I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to find out what parts of my proposed rules are scaring people, or it's not scaring people off. It's the people who are reviewing it are saying this is too complicated. And I'm basically saying, okay, what should I eliminate it to make it less complicated? So we're still basically reviewing it, which is why I don't have anything yet for entry. But that's what I'm trying to better understand.
I see. Does anyone have any thoughts for Herb about what might make this a more successful competition or might encourage people to participate in it? I think, a lot of us do participate in international exhibitions, but not all of us, and some of us don't participate consistently, might not participate in all of the exhibitions or might not participate every year. In my case, sometimes I just overlook them because I don't, I might miss an announcement email, or there might not be an announcement, and the submission date passes, before I'm even aware that the exhibition has started. So my suggestion would be to do a lot of promotion, promote on social media. You might even want to consider spending some money on some online ads just to get the word out. And one thing I'm not clear, Herb, is are participants required to be members of the PSA, or is this open to everyone?
Yes, they are.
So I would think that the PSA would have some sort of a mailing list or something for you to really target.
Well, so it is going to be. Actually, I just received and have not yet looked at the April issue of the PSA Journal, and I believe there was some information in the journal this month, but I haven't looked at it yet. I just received it today. Uh, but basically, I'm not sure how many members actually look at the PSA Journal. But I don't know whether the issue is that that there are a lot of people out there who aren't a member of PSA and don't consider the value of PSA, and whether that's what's preventing, a lot of entries, or whether it's that people don't know about it, or whether it's that people who haven't received a star are just people who don't like to compete. I don't know what the issue is.
Um, you know, I wonder. I mean, certainly not all stereo photographers are members of the PSA. Where would a stereo photographer learn about this competition?
Well, so the place where I think most people might be likely to see it is on Photo 3D at groups.io.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, it seems like, when you mention that, almost everybody has seen that, but maybe it's only almost everybody of the people I talk to. I don't know.
Well, does anyone have any ideas for Herb? I mean, that's what I can think of off the top of my head. I think that the PSA in general can do a better job in promoting stereo photography, not just competitions, but just the art of 3D, and that probably ties into promoting this competition as well. Does anyone have any other thoughts for Herb regarding this question? Doesn't sound like it.
Okay, well, I mean, one of the things that Lee Pratt said is, you might only get 3 entries. I mean, and perhaps that's true. Perhaps between the requirement that you be a PSA member and the requirement that you not have a star, uh, perhaps there are very few people who fit into that category. And if that's the case, then there'll be perhaps 3 people who have an easy, gold, silver, or bronze medal out of it. But
Just a quick question. We're down to just a few people at this meeting, but who here is a member of the PSA and has one or more PSA stars? Is it just me? So really, I think, this competition should appeal to the rest of this small group online. Um, but I would suggest maybe so there are certainly stereo photographers who are active in clubs who are not members of the PSA or who are not participating in exhibitions. I think those are the people who you need to target in your promotions,
I
in
think you're
advertising
absolutely
this.
correct. So, I mean, I have contact with a small number of total clubs out there. I mean, there are probably clubs that I know nothing of, don't even know they exist. But I mean, what I will do is I will certainly uh, make it known to all the clubs that I know about, as well as Photo 3D, and we'll just see what happens.
Yeah. And you might want to make some posts to social media. There are active stereo photographers on Instagram, on Reddit, on Facebook, I'm sure, who, this is something a lot of stereo photographers really do work in isolation, and they don't realize that there are other practitioners of this art. And they're surprised to discover that there are clubs and organizations. And I would suggest, Herb, that you seek out those individuals to both become a member of the PSA and to participate in this competition.
Okay, so those are good recommendations, and I
Yeah,
thank you for that.
and I think the PSA definitely needs to beef up its membership for the 3D division. Um, make it a more active group.
Mhm.
That's what I can suggest. And I encourage everyone who's still on this, is still in this meeting, to participate in this competition when it's posted. And Herb, I'll be keeping an eye on that main 3D group for any further information about that, and I'll
Okay,
share it with
so
everyone here as well.
yeah, so what I need to do is I need to basically go through the draft, information that I put out and basically remove anything that might be a barrier to somebody, entering. You know, I just don't want it to be so complicated that it scares people off. Although I'm not sure that it's the complexity that's scaring people off. It might be that they're not PSA members or they don't know about it. But
Right, that's what I suspect. Herb, if you want me to review your draft, go ahead and send it to me. I'd be happy to give you some feedback too.
okay, I will do that. Thank you, Matt.
Now, technically, we're 24 minutes behind schedule, or over past our deadline. But I talked for 20 minutes at the beginning of the meeting, making my announcements about the Internet Archive and our pop-up 3D theater and our Andrew J. Russell presentation. So I think that really falls on me tonight. We would have wrapped up exactly at 9 if I hadn't spent so much time talking at the beginning of the meeting. But that said, here are our results. They're displayed for our Zoom participants. For our streaming participants, you'll just have to take our word for it that Brian's Auto Union D type is we'll call that our first place selection tonight. And we will say that Steve and I tied for second with my NLOX SB and Steve's Vegas Sphere rather. And we will call Bob's Oakland Mural, Melinda's Architectural Incongruence, Oleg's Railroad Crossing at Puerto Varas, and Melinda's Immersed in His Work. We'll call that a tie, a four-way tie for third. Of course, this
It's
isn't
just
really
one
about
vote
winners
each.
or losers.
I would
Say that again.
probably ignore those.
Sure. We didn't have very many participants in tonight's selection process, so the results are a little bit skewed, but I think Brian's Auto Union D type was the clear favorite tonight. So Brian, if you're watching this recorded after the fact, congratulations, and we look forward to seeing more. And thank you for sticking with me past our normal closing time. We usually go over. The last thing that I have to say for tonight is that our next meeting is next week. It is Tuesday, April 8th. The submission deadline is Monday the 7th. Our special subject is going to be a tricky one. Mergers, which is a technical subject. It's not one we've had before. And we'll see what kind of response we get. I'm hoping that this isn't too technical or too challenging subject. If anyone has any questions about it or concerns about it, we can talk about it on our Groups IO discussion board. Is for the people who are still here, is the subject clear? Is mergers a topic that makes sense to everyone? I can give more information if needed. Chances are we've probably already been making these types of stereo photos before. All right. Well, if there are any questions about it, post them to the group, and we will clarify things. And you have until Monday to submit those photos. And that concludes our meeting. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to share or announce before we call it a night?
Please do not apologize for these meetings going long. It is the most relaxing 2 hours, preferably 3 hours, of my entire week. So
Good.
I
I'm
can
glad to
actually
hear that.
sit down and look at pretty pictures, and that's what I enjoy. So do not apologize for going over.
I can definitely talk less and wrap up earlier. I consider it a good problem to have, but I feel bad for the people who have to leave before they've been able to enjoy all the photos. So don't worry, we'll probably continue to run late. That's just how things kind of are. Typically, our second meeting doesn't run as long, for whatever that's worth. All right. Well, thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around. Great slideshow tonight. Very inspiring photos, I feel. I will be following up with emails about some of the announcements that I made tonight. And I look forward to seeing everyone next week. And until then, good night.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you all.
Good night, all.
Good night.